Hi guys, Claudia Boleyn here, and this is like an old school chatty video. It's unscripted, hopefully it won't be too long. But this is a topic that I have spoken about before on this channel ages ago. So I started when I was like 19, and I remember doing a video like this for Tom Daley, when Tom Daley came out. And I think a couple of other celebrities. I've deleted a load of those videos now because they're just cringy and embarrassing. And I'm vain and I thought, oh my god, I look awful in them. And it's really strange to see it happening again. So I'm not going to actually name names, even though it's pretty obvious, it's been on social media, but an actor from a very popular LGBT show, who the character he plays is bisexual, was spotted out and about with a girl. Oh no, shock horror. And he was facing a lot of like harassment from people who were accusing him of queerbaiting because it doesn't make sense anyway, because his character in the show is bisexual. Long story short, this actor had to come out as bisexual. He's only 18 years old, so he's only really young, and he felt like he had to come out because he was being accused of queerbaiting and somehow tricking the community, and he felt like he had to prove something. And it was really sad to see that, because I kind of, as an older bisexual myself, I just kind of hope that wouldn't be happening to people who were like the age that I was kind of when I was figuring stuff out. You know, I was hoping that wouldn't be happening to them today, but it still is. And that's really sad, because coming out is a big moment for people. Although I feel like we come out over and over again in our lives, like constantly. But you know, that is something that's been stolen from him, and that gets stolen from a lot of people when someone is forced to come out, because it's like a big deal. And I think a lot of straight people sometimes, like, not with bad intentions, but they'll say something like, oh, well, we don't even care, like, why is it a big deal? Well, it's because we live in a society where we're expected to be heterosexual and cisgender, and if you diverge from that, it's kind of on you to kind of say like that you're not. And it is a horrible experience, like, even if you've got supportive people around you, because you don't really know, like, you know, having to come out, it's weird. It's like having to redefine yourself. And always, like, I think there's such a, I think that the way some straight people who look at this, they think about it as somehow like announcing your sexuality in terms of like sex, if that makes sense. So even though when you're younger, like, you'll be like watching straight media, like you'll be watching Cinderella from like a young age, where prince and a princess and they kiss, and like, you know, it's kind of implied that they're kind of is a relationship, but it's not got into. Suddenly it's like when it comes to like being bi or being gay or something, it's like suddenly they go to the idea of, I find anyway, this is what I found embarrassing, people just think about like a sex life, like they go to that, like they think, oh, why are you telling me that you sleep with this person? And it makes you feel uncomfortable, because sometimes they can make you feel like, by even saying that, like you're somehow, like, I don't know, it's just weird to be associated with that, like when you're just a person. You know, you're not, it's not your sex life, because so many people who are homophobic, they think about being gay or bisexual as something just to do with sex, but it's not. It's the same, it's the same way to do with sex that it would be for someone who's straight. You know, there's so many different layers to it. It doesn't have to be that. That's a really embarrassing thing that I found anyway. Like, I just hated people to think about me like that, and I think straight people don't have to do that, which is like, I wish like they kind of understood that, because it is kind of an awkward thing, you know. And it's kind of really horrible, because you don't know who's gonna accept it, who isn't. People will like kind of accept it, but they'll be a bit like, why are you telling me about your lifestyle? And you know, they make out it's a lifestyle, or you know, they'll look at you weird, like, why, like, I don't even care, like, it's 2022, like, why would I even care? And that's also kind of invalidating, because it's like, well, we care because we've had to diverge from what's expected of us, you know, and made to feel like we're liars if we don't. Like, it's a horrible trap, really, because you are made to feel like a liar if you don't come out. And this is a perfect example. Okay, so this actor is bisexual, and he's had to come out as bisexual, and I feel like this is relevant because it especially applies to bi people, also trans people. I know you can be bi and trans, but this is something I've noticed recently, especially with like the whole anti-trans, gender critical kind of movement kind of, you know, picking up some steam recently, is that it's like, I feel like we share, and I've always kind of felt like this, we share this feeling of like we're being treated from those even within the community, like we're some kind of like undercover agents, like tricking people, like we're not real and we're like invading spaces. That's how it feels. So this whole thing with this actor having to come out, I do feel definitely like there's a problem in the community as a whole with the way that bisexual people get treated if they're with someone of a different gender. You know, I've seen tweets recently, and this is quite common, and it's sad because it's 2022. I expected this when I was younger, but you know, it's sad that now, you know, like a lot of young gay people, and I should say it's not all gay people, it's not all gay and lesbian people, obviously. Like a lot of my friends online are like gay or lesbian, and they're like the biggest champions of LGBT people, like as a whole. You know, it's just there's that whole movement, isn't there, which is LGB without the T, which will naturally lead to without the B, and like it's just this weird mentality. But you know, for example, there was a tweet the other day that I saw in a kind of fandom that I enjoy, saying about with bisexual representation, why would we as the tweet said, why would we as gay people want to know about like you being attracted to the opposite sex, as they put it? Like, we don't care about that. Like, why would we want that? Like, I'm just letting bisexuals know that like we don't care about that. Like, if you're in a relationship, like it's a straight relationship, like we don't care. Why would we want that? And I kind of can understand from the perspective of, when it comes to representation, you see a lot of couples on TV which are obviously like different genders, obviously, but it's not a straight relationship if one is bisexual. Like it's not, being bisexual it's not being straight, you know, you're not defined by the person you're in the relationship with. And a prime example of why that is because you're not accepted by either side ever. Like, you know, I think some people think it's really easy, you know, like, oh, you've got the best of both worlds, but actually it's horrible because you have to come out to straight people and suffer homophobia from people when they find out, and then also you get that same experience in gay spaces where you get treated like oh, you'll just end up with a man anyway, or you're a liar, or you're just experimenting, or, you know, we don't want you here, like you'll just end up with a man. And then people like say things like, oh, but bi women, just speaking as a bi woman, you know, I won't speak for bi men, but like they say that bi women, you know, oh, but you're more likely to end up with a man, as if that's a checkmate. And like, so first of all, being bisexual isn't being gay, so it means that like you really don't know who you're going to end up with. Like, you just, you know, it isn't a choice. And I feel like it's such a sad thing that we're even going through this, because, you know, I thought we'd got past this with gay people as well, like because it's a shared struggle, right? It's not, you don't choose it. Like, you don't wake up one day and choose to be gay. Like, you don't choose to be bisexual. It's just a part of you that you just start to understand and figure out, that you think's normal when you're younger, and then you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not. And then you're like, but that is me. I've always been that. But I was thinking about this, and like, obviously, I mean, there's more men who are straight interested in women that you're going to meet in your life, aren't there? So it makes sense, because there's more of a pool, like, especially if you're not somebody who can get to like LGBT spaces very much. Like, I really can't do that because of my disability and stuff. And a lot of people are the same, you know, it's a mixture of different things. That's a big leap anyway. So you're gonna come across more men attracted to women, I think. And also the feeling that when you do feel alienated from a community, like if you like, so for example, online dating, Tinder, all that kind of stuff. Like, I've had experiences where I've been like talking to a girl and we've been like getting on really well and it's all great, and then it's like, oh, she finds out that you're bi, and then it's like, no offense, I really like you, but you're wasting my time. And that is really gutting. Like, it's a horrible situation. So it's almost like, as a bisexual person, you have to like immediately put on your profile now, like, you can't just say, oh, I'm a woman that's attracted to other women. It's like, you have to state it, because you know that there'll be a load of people that just aren't interested. And that's just really, it's really frustrating. So I think also the idea that, you know, if you're in like an LGBT space, there's the added pressure, and I think that bisexual people and trans people have this in common, although obviously you can be both, is that it's like this constant coming out where you don't really feel safe either way. Like, it's not the safe space that it might be for lesbians, for example, because you can find a community and find your people, and then realise that actually they don't think you belong there, but you also don't belong with the straight people, and you just start feeling like it's a horrible situation to be in. You know, I'm not saying that bi people have it any way worse than gay people. I'm just saying the struggle is different, and I wish there was more understanding about like the difference in the struggle. Like, it's still a struggle, you know. It's not the worst thing in the world, obviously, I'm not trying to say that, but it's a different experience, and I don't know, I just find the biphobia really bad. But so with this actor coming out, you know, he's I don't know, it's bringing up a lot of things, because there is one thing that I have disagreed with people from the community on for a while now, and I've been thinking about it for ages and wondering if I'm wrong about it, because I always like second guess myself a million times, and often like I am wrong about things sometimes, like I like everyone else, like I think about something and then later I'll think actually no, that's a bit prejudiced, or actually no, that doesn't work, and then I change my opinion. So I do think about these things, and it's the argument that only gay actors should be able to play gay parts. And I kind of, this is where I kind of separate from people, because I agree with the principle. Like, the principle is good, you know, it's the idea that gay people should have more opportunities, and there are lots of instances where you get straight actors playing gay roles, but they're actually, you kind of get the impression they're actually secretly a bit disgusted by it. They're just using it for their career, and it really shows in their scenes. You know, it feels like they come out with really bad things in interviews, they you know, they keep misstepping, and I get that. I do get that, but the other side of that argument is that I don't think that anyone should have to come out to their employer in order to get a job. I don't think that's the stumbling block for me. It's not that I disagree with it on principle. It's that I don't think it works, because you get situations like this where you have to disclose your sexuality, and why should it be that you have to disclose your sexuality? You know, maybe it should be more about, look, what do you know about this community? How would you speak about this community? You know, I know it's difficult. Like, for example, the casting of like Billy Kaplan Wiccan, who's going to be like one of my favourite characters. I love him so much. You know, he's being cast at the moment, we think, on a similar topic. I won't go there for this. You know, I understand if it's a character that's going to be like a gay iconic character that's going to be like a sort of ambassador role. I understand that. I do understand that completely. I just don't think that works. I don't think it works, honestly. My personal feeling is that I would rather it be the other way, and that all actors can play any sexuality. Because I don't think they should have to... I know it's a dodgy one, I can see the counter-arguments, and I do agree with many of them. I just think when it comes down to it, this situation is kind of the bit that just gets me. Because I feel like, why should you have to come out? You shouldn't have to come out to your employer. You shouldn't have to do that as an actor, I don't think. But what I'm seeing a lot is I'm seeing people calling it queerbaiting. So the reason that this actor was kind of got at was him being accused of queerbaiting people for playing this bisexual role and then being seen with a woman. So first of all, that's heavily biphobic, because when you are bisexual, you know, you don't choose people based on how good it's going to look to the community. You know, we're not like a PR project. We're not going around like, how are the optics on this? You know, when we're dating. You just fancy people, right? So seeing an actor who plays a bisexual character with a woman isn't even queerbaiting anyway, is it? Because if you're bisexual, I mean, first of all, that could just be a friend anyway. Like, and that's another topic about how people obsess over actors' private lives, which I don't think is our business. But even in that situation, that's being bisexual anyway. So there's heavy biphobia with this, which I think has really got me. You know, really heavy biphobia. It's like, I know that sometimes we joke in the community, we make jokes like that, but when people from outside the community act like a bisexual person is a traitor or not good enough or a disappointment for being bisexual, you know, that's why we're not under the label of gay. It's really disheartening. It makes you feel like, reading that is horrible, because it makes you feel like, so, you know, when I find my partner and fall in love, I kind of know that whichever way I go, I'm going to be screwed in a certain way, because it's going to be horrible. Like, I'm going to have to go through the whole, does my community accept me? I'm going to go through the whole, potentially, homophobia from straight people. It's not nice. It's really not nice. I don't know, that really upset me and annoyed me, because it's not... Even, this isn't a situation of queerbaiting anyway, but even with that argument, to see a bisexual person with someone of a different gender isn't fake, is it? Like, do people not understand what bisexuality is? Like, it makes me so angry. But then also the idea of queerbaiting being used here. So I'm someone who's talked a lot about queerbaiting, and I've got a lot of stick for this. I've spoken about it in the Doctor Who fandom. I've spoken about it, like, there's a ton of shows that use queerbaiting really shamelessly, and in a really, like, awful way. It was something that used to happen, like, maybe about 10 years ago. It was really heavy, and it's the idea that, like, a creator of a show will tease, like, a same-gender pairing, actually in the show or in interviews, just to make viewers want to watch it, or to pander to straight fans that kind of want to fetishise it, but then actually act with disdain and not actually follow through and you realise it's just been a gimmick, and those people in that community have been used as a gimmick. And that's something that a lot of writers do this. And I'm calling him out, Stephen Moffat, I'm looking at you. You were like the worst for this. But it was a really uncomfortable thing, you know, the using of fans, making them, like, putting little hints into the show, knowing that you're going for a certain fan base. Knowingly. I don't mean when a show just has a couple of characters that people like together and they put together, but when the show leans into that and then either makes it a joke or leans into it and then suddenly acts later on like, oh, you fans are disgusting for even thinking it. It's like getting slapped in the face. You know, that was a horrible thing that used to happen, which isn't so common now, I don't think. I hope. I think we're past that. I used to talk about that all the time, and I got totally attacked for talking about that. And to this day, I still get attacked for the fact that I made those Moffat criticisms. But I still think, like, you know, being a gay or bisexual person in that time period was like watching your favourite shows and then, like, realising that you've been kicked in the stomach. Like, oh, okay, it wasn't real, you were using us, we're actually a joke to you. And I've invested my time here. It was like, I can't even emphasise to you the sadness of it. Like, it's a horrible feeling. It just made you feel like, you didn't even want to, like, connect with media, because, or you'd have to go through that thing where you'd get other queer people to be like, oh my gosh, guys, this one's actually real, they're not just using us, and then everyone would watch it, so we'd migrate towards it. But queerbaiting only applies to fiction. You know, it only applies to that using of the community, that hinting to create, like, controversy or to get people on board to use fans, because a lot of creators were very, you know, they did this and they knew what they were doing. It was really cruel. That's queerbaiting. A real relationship and a real person, it can't exist. Queerbaiting can't be a thing with a real person. That's a misuse of what the term is and what it means. You know, a person living their lives, somebody being mistaken for whatever sexuality they are by other people, and it's none of those people's business anyway, that can't be queerbaiting. Because a person living their lives, people aren't living their lives for optics. Like, they're not living their lives to be like, I don't even know how to explain this. Like, it's so obvious to me, but it's not queerbaiting to live your life. It wouldn't be queerbaiting if I came on this channel tomorrow and introduced you to my boyfriend, and then people were saying to me, oh, you've queerbaited us all this time. No, that's not what it means. You know, that's being bisexual. It's not queerbaiting. I just find it really, really bad that people would misuse that kind of terminology, because it always seems to backfire on bisexual people and also trans people as well, because there is this underbelly of that. There's this kind of feeling that some people don't fit and some people have to keep coming out. And I know that I have a lot in common with a lot of trans friends, because it's the same for them, where they feel like they aren't, you know, this is just what some of my friends have said to me. I'm not speaking for the trans community, but, you know, going into an LGBT space, a place that should be safe for you, and then going there and realising you're actually going to face a lot of people there who think you shouldn't be there, that you've tricked your way in, that you're like, that you're messing them about, that you're tricking them. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. You know, you assuming somebody's sexuality in a TV show, assuming an actor's sexuality, and then their actual life, you know, contradicting that in whatever way. First of all, it's none of our business. Second of all, it's not queerbaiting. That was your expectation. And I feel sad that I know straight people who fetishise have been doing this really badly, but also it's sad when it comes from inside the community, because all this is going to lead to is it's going to hit bisexuals the most, because they're the people that are going to create this kind of controversy. You know, it's going to be like, oh no, there was someone of a different gender, they've cheated us. What a horrible thing, and what a terrible thing for him to experience. You know, he's been part of that show playing a bisexual character, and yet those fans have turned on him for being bisexual, because they really only accepted him when it was same gender. How depressing that must be as an actor. And I feel so bad that he's had to come out publicly and say this. But to add to that, you know, I feel like people are saying how bad it is that he's had to come out, but also that on such a public scale, he's witnessed this rise to fame through this fandom, and people supporting him, his own community in many cases, and then turning on him for being the member, like part of the community that his character was. You know, it's really horrible, you know? So I've probably missed out a ton of stuff talking here and it's not going to be articulate, but that's what I thought about that. Let me know what you think about the situation, not his private situation because it's not really our business, but this whole trend. Like, are you seeing this, like, resurging? Because I am seeing this kind of link with biphobia and transphobia coming back. I think the community is in a dangerous place right now because it's becoming very, very binary and very gatekeepery. And I can see that's coming because the outside community is getting worse, things are getting worse, and I think there's an element of protection and defensiveness, but this will backfire terribly, and I just don't see this going well. We're so much further ahead now than we were when I was younger and in that situation myself. Why are we still doing this? Like, why are we still doing this? It's depressing, and I'm 28. I'm 28 years old, and it made me feel like an actual exhale of sadness when I saw that tweet. I don't even really follow this fandom, really. But I was aware of it, and I saw this, and I felt so sad. I can't even explain the feeling. I just felt so disheartened for someone who's done so much in community representation, has put themselves out there and probably had to deal with a lot of homophobia because they took that role. You know, and they were displaying a part of themselves in that role, and to have that very fandom turn on them, it's like a huge scale. It's a massive public version of what many bisexual people feel just day to day in the community and in society, really. It's so depressing. Anyway, I love you loads, and I'll see you really soon. Okay, love you, bye.